we're not doing speeches. This is the only speech I get to do. This is a conversation. We have all the people from the team that has put together the thoughts about this. Nobody's decided anything. This is part of the decision-making process. So we have the experts and the consultants and the wildlife people and the shorelands people are in here to present and to hear your comments and answer your questions. So it's a discussion. It's a discussion amongst all of us.
My name is Erwin Kuperberg. I'm the chairman of the Londonderry Conservation Commission, as well as a member of the steering committee of the Lowell Lake Concerned Citizens Group. The number of people using Lowell Lake has skyrocketed exponentially in recent years, from approximately 1,500 visits a year in 1999 to 15,000 last year. The number is growing rapidly all the time, and the lake does not need, on top of those numbers, the introduction of overnight lodging and all the people that those cabins would bring in.
So, my name is Patrick Olstad. I'm a landscape architect with SE Group. We're landscape architects and planners based in Burlington, Vermont, and we've been helping to develop the master plan. We're proposing some upgraded vehicular circulation and parking for the day use area, as well as improved accessibility in terms of paths to the water, and trying to improve the sort of stormwater treatment and ecological condition of the shoreline. We've seen a lot of support for a lot of those day use improvements. I think a lot of people recognize some of the issues that are out there in terms of conflicts with vehicles and pedestrians, and a circulation system that doesn't work that great right now, as well as some parking capacity issues. In terms of the overnight use, I think we have heard a number of concerns for that activity and bringing that back to the park. Although it is sort of a historic use of the park, people have become accustomed to the sort of character that's there now, and so we have heard some concerns about that, concerns for noise in the sort of dusk evening times. So we're taking it all in, and it's really good to hear people's take on it.
So the existing 10 to 12 cabins, we did a building assessment on those and the other structures of the park. We think should there be day overnight use desired, the 10 of the 12 cabins could be rehabilitated. Those would have no plumbing and no wiring. If those were not rehabilitated, the state's view is they need to be removed for liability purposes. They can't just remain. So once you take that step, do you replace them with anything? Any replacement would be what the Forest and Parks is. They use the term cottages, which have kitchenettes and bathrooms. And any new construction like that would have to be outside the 300-foot setback, which, if you look at Concept Plan B, that represents that cluster. The feedback seems to be generally against overnight use, and of those people who are in favor or neutral, they seem to favor the rehabilitated cabins over the newly constructed cottages.
So I'm Marie Levesque Caduto. I'm the watershed coordinator with the Department of Environmental Conservation and part of the regional stewardship team that works on all state lands in the region. So my piece of this particular project is to kind of review the plans, review the concepts, and look at them for the water quality impacts that could happen on the lake. So how do we improve the conditions that are there right now, because some of them are pretty degraded because of the concentration of people. So what do we need to do as we move forward with any of these ideas to improve the water quality and make sure there's no runoff, stormwater, and things like that getting into Lake Lowell? These kind of best management practices for the lakeshore will be implemented in any of the areas that are going to be redeveloped. Whether it's a day use or overnight, it doesn't matter. This is a rain garden concept, so as it is, any of the dirt, gravel, parking lots and roads are going to run off and carry that gravel and sediment into a ditch or into the lake. So what a rain garden does is capture all of that and make sure the sediment stays on the land, and then the water infiltrates through the ground so it gets filtered and it doesn't carry any contaminants into the lake. This kind of path, taking all these open areas, again, that could be causing erosion and runoff, narrowing them down, keeping them people's activity compaction concentrated, And then these pads are planned to be pervious so that instead of water running off of them, the water will infiltrate right through the path and into the ground, so there's no stormwater runoff. In the makeup of the stewardship team, there's parks people for sure, but there's also folks like me who are DEC, water quality. There's fish and wildlife, whose perspective is to protect the habitats and the wildlife that are on site, make sure there's no disturbance to rare, threatened, and endangered species. So all the different departments, the environmental conservation, fish and wildlife, and forest and parks all get together and review all these kind of concept plans to make sure that they meet our individual department goals, and then they also meet all the state rules and regulations that come into play. So we all review that together.
What kind of feedback did you get today from your best management practices?
For the water quality stuff, things have been very positive. People see this and appreciate that we are taking a protective perspective for the water quality of the lake. So, and people value that a lot.
We're here tonight to listen to what the Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation have in store for us with their proposals for Lowell Lake. We've been very concerned about the plans that they've revealed so far, particularly those for overnight camping in either existing cabins or in reconstructed cabins. There's been a huge community protest against these plans for a variety of reasons, and to date the agency has said they are listening to us, and tonight as a result of this event and these boards that they've put up, allowing people to put up stickers, placing their vote, I think it's very clear. For example, this board, which queries folks' interest in overnight lodging using the cabins, is pretty heavily skewed in the negative column. These are people voting against, these are people voting for. And this is indicative of what we've seen so far, and hopefully the agency will listen to us, that A&R as a whole will listen to the community's interests in Lowell Lake and use Lowell Lake the way it should be in its pristine form, and make it a quiet place for the enjoyment of all, rather than one that's got overnight campers doing things that they do overnight and whatever impact they may have on that environment.